So what's new with you?
Nothing. What about you?
Nothing. Yeah, nothing really. Nothing. No big changes over here. Did a little bit of travel last week, but yeah, just a couple of nights away.
It's election day.
It's election day, lucky day.
Did you vote?
I did vote. I've got a postal vote sent to me in New Zealand, and then I thought, why would I pay international shipping when I can
Yeah.
take the vote with me back to Australia, and then put it in a post box when I'm there?
Very
Reply paid.
clever.
Yeah.
Very clever. Who did you vote for?
I voted for the Greens Party. I put them number
Did
one.
you?
And then I scattered in another couple of rando independents in there. I think I didn't do as much research into it these days. I think I threw like an animal justice party in there, maybe like
Why not? Who cares? Throw it away.
legalized marijuana party in there, throw a couple in there. And then hit the old Labour Party. And then it was a real game of who am I gonna rank at the bottom, which is actually the much harder part of it for me, because there seems to be a lot more crazies out on the fringes these days than I remember growing up.
Hadn't noticed, honestly.
Yeah.
Seems fine to me.
So yeah, pop the old coalition down in the depths there, and then I think, to be fair to Dutton, I'll put Pauline Hanson below him. I'll put Trumpet of Patriots below him. There's some other loonies out there.
The Trumpet of Patriots are especially annoying because their ad campaign, you probably haven't gotten these, but they have run a psychotic text campaign where
the very first text that I got when I got off the plane in Australia was a Trumpet of Patriots text. I'm not even joking. I was like, what the fuck is this?
It's insane because everyone's been getting blocked them, reported it as spam, muted them. They've got some system where they're changing.
Yep,
they're doing it from a different number, and it's just like, how? What is the psychology behind this for you? And does it work? Maybe it does.
I can't imagine it works.
It's like people putting spam in your letterbox. Like, how? No one likes this, but is it just the name recognition? Maybe they're just getting those people they just get there and they're just like, well, I heard of these guys. They texted me, so it's nice to get a text.
I mean, that has to be the strategy, right? Because I can't see it converting to votes, right? Because if you're fucking annoying, then you're putting people off voting for you, right? But it has to be, someone's done some calculation and said, look, there's 17 parties on the ballot. This is a game of preference flows. As long as people know us and then they think about us and they go, oh yeah, I've heard of that, that must have some value. Otherwise, why would you fucking do it?
Someone's doing some calculation on this. Yeah. I'd love to speak to him. Maybe we'll get him on the pod next week.
Yeah. And you assume
it's part of the marketing campaign. They're also their YouTube ad campaign has been ferocious. Just every single political ad that you get on YouTube here. I'm not even, my political YouTube videos could potentially attract that kind
You're
of thing.
In those circles, yeah.
But on our TV, we've got profiles, and often it's left on Lauren's, and that's definitely going the other way, right?
Yeah.
And she's getting the same thing.
Yeah.
So, it's just...
I'm pretty sure even when I was in Australia, I saw YouTube ads for Trumpet of Patriots. So they must be just... I don't even know anything about them, really, but they must have a marketing budget out that... Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. If it's Clive Palmer, I was like... They must be dropping millions on this, because that's the only way you can do such blanket campaigns.
Well, yeah, he's billionaire, right? I don't even know what he does. All I know is that he's just been
He was a mining magnate, wasn't he, Clive Palmer?
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Most of the big billionaires in Australia are mining.
Yeah, who's the other one? Who's the other big?
Gina Reinhardt.
Gina Reinhardt. But he's taken a step back. He's not very much he's not as much the face of the marketing for the trumpeters, but
yeah, because they probably did some studies and realized everyone fucking hates him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be very curious to see what comes in today.
Look, as you know, I'm a betting man. The odds. Been checking
the odds
all
are
day.
on our bow. Yeah.
But crazily in favor of Labor. Like $1. If you bet If you bet $1 on Labor, you get 5 cents back. If you bought, so basically they're $1.05 and the coalition's $9.30. They're just it's a landslide.
I mean, it's so nothing is done till it's done, but it is extremely reassuring that when Dutton comes out and says Australia should be more like Trump, everyone in Australia seems to have gone, nah, I'm seeing what Trump's doing and no thank you. That is comforting in the same way that Carney coming into power in Canada off the back of a similar sentiment seems to have... It's been interesting to see. I think part of Trump being elected, as we spoke about before, was part of a pendulum correction, right or wrong. I'm not saying anything about that. But the way that people felt was it was a reaction to, some identity politics, whatever it is, right? But it's been fun. It's been not fun. Well, it's been kind of fun. It's been interesting to see the reactionary pendulum swing from Trump's first 100 days, just go back the other way. Yeah.
And I was listening to a podcast the other day that said kind of the best it's obviously what Trump is doing is terrible. The haphazard deportations, you name it, has been terrible. But in a sense, because it's been so bad, in a sense, that's kind of a good thing, because if it was just almost like kind of as what just happened there, dude?
If you got that on the video, I got attacked by a fly.
Wow. Yeah. Kamikaze fly.
Sorry to interrupt.
I actually saw something hit you. I thought Casey was there flicking pebbles at you.
He does that, but he tends to be sitting on the other seat.
Just with the straws. So if it was like people expected Trump's first 100 days to be quite bad, but because he's exceeded that, there's nothing. It's even actually hurting people that voted for him, and so in a sense, it's a good thing because for the longevity of MAGA, it's going to crumble. They're their own worst enemy, and I mean, there's an argument to be made that it's kind of almost in that sweet spot of terribleness.
Useful. Yeah, but the just to push back slightly on the pendulum swing thing, I knew you threw this out as just one random example, the idea of identity politics being the thing which swung left and right. I was reading an article this week about the 2024 election and the numbers there, and it does bear repeating that the reason that Trump got into power is because Democrats didn't show up, not because more people voted for Trump. That block size stayed the same, but the blue vote dropped. So it's not that more people suddenly reacted, like, oh, woke politics has gone too far, or, like identity stuff, like all this right-wing stuff is actually irrelevant because the number of people that showed up for that is basically the same. What did Kamala in was people not showing up at the numbers that they had in the Biden 2020 election, which was, as you say, a reaction to Trump and like, oh shit, we've got to show up and make sure he doesn't get back into power. Big spike of attendance, and then complacency over 4 years mixed with Biden's general lack of appeal and, other missteps along the way. You can talk about the, Palestinian situation, all that kind of thing, whatever it may have been that dissuaded people from showing up. That's the difference. That's what actually stopped Kamala from getting into power. And I would not necessarily go so far as to extrapolate that it was a cultural shift in terms of America suddenly became more susceptible or more interested in Trump's politics.
Well, I think both things can kind of be true, because I think maybe it's not the cultural shift in terms of people getting fed up with identity politics and wokeism per se, but I think when people were seeing cost of living just really kind of ruining their lives and struggling to make ends meet, and then they're seeing and we've talked about this before, that the Democrats didn't even run necessarily a woke campaign or an identity politics based campaign. Yep. But what people feel on the ground is that I can't afford to buy eggs, and you guys are out here talking about pronouns. I think that's kind of what it leads into. It's like you're out here talking about la stuff, and I just want to be able to support my family.
But I mean, that's a media messaging thing, right? That's because the right-wing networks and thing parrot that kind of thing. I don't think that if you studied the talking points of, Harris's campaign, I'm pretty sure that by most metrics, that's a very centrist left campaign. And I don't think she's out there being like, you know what we need? We need to, legalize they, them pronouns for teenagers or whatever. I don't think you could point to that. But any sort of liberal stance on social issues, even if it's not the focus of the campaign, that's something that the right is going to hammer on as some kind of
I agree.
oppressive
I
thing,
agree. And I'm not saying that this is what reality is. I'm saying what people felt, and a big part of what people feel is what they're being fed in the media, and a big part of that is what the Republicans were able to capitalize on, an ineffective communication message from the Democrats, and they pounced.
Yeah, and the Democrats do have a communication problem, absolutely.
Yeah.
Welcome to Deep Thought, everybody. This is a podcast about the events of late 2024. Sitting through the internet with me this week, my friend Michael, or should that be Mr. Michael Zabrecki?
Mr. Michael, Mr. Cool Guy. I feel like a cool guy today. Mr. Cool Guy.
They said Mr. Cougar, but you said cool guy.
I should have said that. I should have said Mr.
And my name's Nick. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hey, good to see your face, Michael.
Very nice to see you. It's been a hell of a journey the last few weeks, Nick.
The last few Nicks have been pretty weak.
Yeah. Nixon. If you had a son, it would be called Nixon.
You say that, but my hairdresser's son was called Nixon.
Well, Nick's son.
Richard yeah, that's nice. That's
if your son was called Rich, if your son was called Richard, you'd be Richard Nixon. Right.
Hey, you got married.
Yeah.
Where was this comedy on the night?
I have nothing else to talk about. If you don't want to talk about this,
I do want to talk about this.
I think we should. I got some musings. Hell of a ride.
Hell of a ride.
Thanks for coming down. Thank you very much for coming down.
It's more than a cross, but I appreciate it. I was happy to be there. It was lovely.
Didn't check the latitude before I made that sentiment.
Longitude,
Sorry.
But, well, both. I suppose. Yeah.
Who cares? You came down. It's been a real journey. In the weeks leading up, I think it's probably evident in the last episode, which I can't even remember doing, honestly. But I probably slept an average of 4 hours a night in at least the last 2 weeks, but probably the last few months. And so we had the wedding on the Thursday. On the Saturday, we went down to Mornington with some of our friends. Got back on the following Wednesday, and I feel like I have a lot more energy than most people. I think it's probably ADHD related, which is a good thing. But as soon as we got back, the last few days, I basically collapsed, and seriously, I even in the lead up, I was forgetting to eat. I was probably eating one meal a day, not because I was starving myself to look good, even though it had a nice benefit. But it was just so, my head was so one tracked, and I was just going full speed ahead. I couldn't even it was very frantic, and the last few nights I've gone to bed at 8 p.m. and just fallen asleep and slept for 14 hours and waking up so hungry. I'm just eating so much. It's wild. But yeah, it's been very
Well, let me tell you as an outsider that I think you had basically a perfect day. You had a beautiful setting. You had the weather to dream of for being outside, and then
late April.
Late April. Yeah, it could have gone bad. I mean, if you'd had what Christchurch has had for the past 3 days, which was 75 mils of rain in 48 hours or something, you would be. Yeah, in a very different position. But then a beautiful small venue, 40 people odd. It was tiny in the most cozy and comfortable way. I think all of the ceremony stuff was beautiful. I thought all of the speeches that you gave and that everyone gave was really good. And at the end of the night, I walked away feeling like, yeah, that was a wedding where I got to enjoy myself, which is not something you can always say about it. Some of these events.
No, well, I appreciate you saying that, and yeah, a lot of people have said that, and it's so weird when you kind of. I mean, we haven't been to a wedding, either of us, in 10 years. It's kind of hard to remember what that is, but then also, most of the weddings I've ever gone to, and I played in a wedding band for a while, so I would see a lot of the same type of wedding. And I think the thing that we did well, even though we were just making it up, was just going with our gut and going with what our instincts were. Like there's like literally 500 little tiny traditions that you can do, from having it in a church to the bride walking down the aisle to having little favor boxes,
for people to readings, all the.
But there's even like little tiny ones, wearing blue or something like that.
Yeah,
there's a million things. And I think what we did well was just cherry pick the ones that we really wanted. And that made, and, we didn't even have a dance floor at the end of the night, because we were like, we've got people come, most of our guests are family that are just going to want to sit and talk anyway. And we've got everyone coming from all over the globe. Like, why, like, no one really, we wouldn't even want a dance floor. So, you know, things like that. But, it was like just about as perfect as we could have imagined. And it's kind of strange when you're planning this thing. We've drew up a blueprint of where we wanted the ceremony, the speakers to go, and the umbrellas, and I had a playlist kind of meticulously timed to almost like the second, and that's all theory. And then basically we just asked our friends to help set it up, and we just like, well, when we arrived there, we're going to see what it actually looks like, because we have no idea. And we're not even in control of like, can this go over there and this. So when we were rocking up to see it for the first time, and when we did at the gardens, we were like, holy shit, this really worked. Yeah. And we had no complaints, and people felt very like relaxed and very us, and there was like some humor and everything. And it just was fucking great.
You did your own vows, and I always appreciate that. And they were very personal. And to your credit, yours is the first wedding I've been to which deliberately cited 9/11 in the vows. And that's something that felt incredibly true to you.
Yeah. Well, there was so our celebrant as well, who was amazing, Nat.
Yeah.
She does these things. So you write your own vows, right? And then we'll send them to her individually, and she'll kind of make sure that we're on the same page in terms of length and vibe. So one person's not going full sentimental, the other one's not doing
only jokes. Yeah.
But then she's got this other thing that she does. I think it's not necessarily a thing, but she calls them ninja vows, where we'll kind of write to her. We'll fill out a questionnaire individually, and it'll kind of be more like tongue in cheek, like, I wish he would do this, and I wish you. So. We've both completely forgot that we wrote that we filled out this form, and so when she said that thing about 9/11, it was made it even more funny. But the vows thing was interesting, because I think Lauren was probably expecting. Well, I know that she was, because she kept asking me every week, "Are you just going to make jokes the whole time?" And I knew from the start that, well, the funniest thing to do would be to completely go full sentimental and no jokes. Yeah. So I knew that I was going to do that, but also it's a nice opportunity. It's also kind of a bit weird. It's a bit cringe to kind of declare your love for your partner in front of your friends and family in a park. It's a bit of a weird setup. But then when I was thinking about it for like the weeks leading up, I was just like, I just want to like. I'm going to put that to the back, all the weirdness of the situation. I'm going to be like, I'm going to try and just tap into the most authentic expression of my feelings towards Lauren.
Yeah.
And that was a really kind of interesting exercise. And it's very hard to do that when you're talking about love, because there's like just a million cliches. I think I said this in my speech, maybe, that you can't avoid cliches when you're talking about love, because that's often the the most efficient way to express what you're saying, because it's been kind of been refined over thousands of years.
There's been a lot of practice,
and but I think we both did it well. We did it in our way, and hopefully it wasn't too cringe. But
no, it wasn't. It was lovely, and I did think that. Really, what did you say her name was? Nat.
Yeah,
Nat the celebrant was a good get. She was practiced, obviously, but sort of casual in a way that you want. Like, you didn't want stilted or performative. She was comfortable, clearly.
Yeah.
And she gave off an air of knowing you, which I think is the trick of a good marriage celebrant, even though they probably meet you like 3 times and that's it.
Yep.
And then she was also just like inobtrusive in a good way, and did the job.
That's the other thing. There's a lot of when you're searching for celebrants, there's a lot of like failed comedians doing celebrancy, and we knew we wanted it to be light in nature, but also I can just imagine, just by looking at some of these photos, I'm like, that guy wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
So when we met with Nat, she was like you said, she was casual, but the focus wasn't about her, it was about us. And, she does a million of these, and we did feel like that she knew us, but she was she literally left ours to go to another wedding. And then she's been, doing them. We're on a conveyor belt for her, but that's fine. And the other thing that she was really great at, which was probably not as obvious to everyone, was that she actually guided proceedings very well. She told us, I'm going to guide you. Are you going to say this here and blah, blah, blah? Because we have no idea. We're thinking about a million things. And we had, I think this is safe to say, so she had a hard out because she had another wedding to go to. And so we needed the ceremony to start at 1, and basically it was going to finish at 1:30, and then very quickly after that she would leave.
Yeah.
And at 1:10, I was like, she had called everyone over at 1 to sit down, take your places. And then I'm just standing up there like a goose going, what the hell is going on? Work out that my cousin, Amy and Matt, I don't care, were waiting. We're like, my auntie had asked the celebrant to pause because they were running late. And they were coming up the hill apparently. And then at 1:15, I was like, I can't stand up here much longer just looking at my shoes. It's very weird, and everyone's looking at me. And I knew Nat had a hard out as well. So I went to check, and I said, Leslie, what's going on with Amy and Matt? And she said, oh, they're just down there. I'm like, where are they? And she was like, well, they're actually not there. And you had to go up a hill to get there. And I was like, we can't wait for these people. Like they'll be, even if they're coming up the hill right now, which they aren't, we'll be here for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I just made the call, and luckily we did, because they rocked up 5 minutes before the ceremony ended. But that's what they said, but I didn't see that. But anyway, it was a bit of a snafu. But we didn't really have many snafus.
No, you didn't. The only one that I noticed was just the bus wasn't there at the end to take you between the venues. But that's, as far as snafus go, relatively minor.
Yeah. So that came. I had them. I asked them to come. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Did you get their money back, or complain to them about it? I did. TBC on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. You would hope that when you're booking for a wedding and you're putting a time well before when you actually need them, and if they're still late, that they would be like, okay, yeah, apologies for that.
Well, the other thing was, I don't know if you saw this, but you were on the bus, right?
Yeah.
So the reception venue is a couple of doors down from our house. We're kind of busy putting stuff away and putting the rubbish away and doing a bunch of things, and we're like, we'll meet you down there later. We booked the venue drop-off for the place. Yeah. I go out the front of my house, and everyone's getting dropped off literally at the front of my house.
Yeah.
Which actually turned out to be good, because people had gifts, and they were like, can we just give you the gifts now, which was all right. But it was also quite shocking to just have everyone know where you live.
Getting off a bus. Yeah.
Anyway,
the only other there was a snafu in waiting that I was petrified of, which was that you did a little walk. You know, you'd had your ceremony. You walked back down. You know, petals and confetti and stuff being thrown, and got to the end of that small stretch of grass, which is by a pond, and then turned around and, you know, people were coming up and wanting photos and hugs and things. And the photographer was like, stay there, get a photo and everything. And I just watched in terror as Lauren like stepped like within 1 foot's length of the pond. I was like, oh, I was like tensing up, ready to like leap in.
Oh my God.
It was so close to that pond that I got
I don't think she even realized, because she hasn't brought it up.
No,
that would have been a great story.
There was no stumble, there was no risk, you know, or anything. But I watched. I was like, that you were within like 30 centimeters of that pond edge, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Oh, she did not even know that. I know. I tell you what was weird though. I wanted to like just run this by, because, and we don't have to talk about this all day, but you know, it was really strange. So we stayed in the same hotel, but in different rooms the night before. And this is the really strange thing. And I'm still coming to terms with this, is that I wake up in the morning, you know, by myself. I happen to have a really good sleep for whatever reason the night before, and wake up and I'm like, well, I'm getting married today. And I go have a shower, I brush, I do all the things, and I'm like very aware that this is a big day in my life, like one of the biggest days I'll ever have. I didn't really know, I was conscious of that, but I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't even know if I needed to do anything with it. I went and got a coffee, and even getting a coffee, I'm like thinking, it's like, it's kind of like, moment. You know, it's your birthday. You know, it's your birthday when you're like 8, and everything, you expect the world to kind of
spin
reshape
around you today.
Yeah, it's like everyone must know it's my. It was kind of that feeling, and I was conscious of that feeling too. I was conscious of like, this is a ridiculous thing, but yeah, it was just it's very strange to be aware of this and of the significance of this moment, and this is it's kind of like no other event in your life. Like, in a sense, a wedding and marriage is kind of, it doesn't really mean anything. Like it doesn't. It's not. It's.
I'll give you so, one chance there, just to take a second and rephrase if you want to.
No. It's in a sense, it's like it doesn't have any practical kind of benefit. Purpose. Really. It's more. It's just a symbolic rite of passage, which it's fine. That's why we're doing it. You know, we want that. But in a sense, it doesn't really have any outcome. You know, in a tangible sense. But unlike a birthday that you have every year, I can't think of another event in your life that you can be aware of it having such a significant memory for you. Like it's the awareness that it's going to be such a significant memory, and just knowing that going into that is just so confusing. You know, it's so baffling.
Like a graduation day, maybe, or like when you're setting off on an overseas trip or something like that. Just
that comes close. That comes close. Like maybe being overseas, I've gone on a few big trips and been at the airport and had that same feeling, but it's not as photographed, you know. And I was, when we were away, I was, I had on one of the nights I smoked a bit of weed, kids, a bit of marijuana. And I went to bed, and we had just gotten like some of the sneak peek shots from our photographer. And as I was lying in bed looking through these photos, I had this really profound experience of looking at these photos, which I will when I'm older. And I was looking at it. I was looking at the photos that had just been taken 2 days before, but looking at them as if in the context of my life, like almost like an old man. And I was like, holy shit. Like, because that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be 70 years old and looking back at these same photos that I'm looking at now and probably showing them to our kids and stuff. And it's like, it's a really, like existentially.
Like an out-of-body experience. Almost.
It was absolutely that, yeah. And it's just a really bizarre kind of feeling. It's not bad at all, but it's just really like, like it's emotional in a very strange sense. And that's the other thing. Like, I was kind of very emotional in the lead up to the wedding, like for a bunch of reasons, like probably family and, heightened stress of the proceedings and stuff like that. And then it all finishes and it all goes well, as good as it could be. And then there's and then you come out the other side and you have a different emotional response, still intense, but it's on the other side, which is kind of just like a lamenting that you've one of the biggest days of your life has gone.
Yeah, across the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of a come down of sorts, but the whole thing's kind of nice to like go through it in such a small period, just have to have that emotional roller coaster. But yeah, it's just like, it's a lot, but it's nice.
It was nice. I mean, that's all very sweet. I think the significance of you already looking at those photos and seeing it as you will in 30 years time or whatever is a really nice indication of the significance it had to you. Like, I thought it was very sweet. I thought you gave very touching speech, or very touching vows, but then also touching speech later at the ceremony, where there was this sincerity to everything you're saying that is not always there in day-to-day Michael interactions, and it was really touching. I could feel the your perception of it as significant sort of oozing out. Like, it was very visible that you were treating this seriously and it meaningfully, and I liked that side of you. I thought it was very sweet.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's the only way to do it. I think, obviously my impulse is to make jokes, and I had a lot of jokes that I literally decided on the spot that I don't think this is the tone that and I kind of covered it up by going, "Oh no, I can't say that." But I said this to Lauren.
Remember. Yeah.
I said, she was like, "What was the thing that you couldn't say?" And I was like, "I think that I couldn't say was like, there's nothing especially rude or anything about that. I was just like, I just didn't want to."
Yeah, just the tone wasn't there. Yeah.
But your speech as well, it was hilarious. Like, are you able to send me that speech at all?
Yeah, maybe I can send you that speech. Yeah.
Because
your mum recorded it.
All of the boomers recorded it, so that's going to be 4K vision from everyone.
It won't be 4K if they recorded it. I'll tell you that much.
It's going to be excellent
720p.
multicam.
Yeah,
multicam sitcom. But your speech was so fucking funny because I ended on a very
extremely sincere.
And I think the first thing you said was, "Well, prepare for whiplash."
Yeah, here comes tonal whiplash. Yeah,
you killed.
Thank you.
Which is interesting because you were incredibly mean, and
that's true.
And in front of my crowd, essentially my friends and family, and you killed, which is doubly hurtful.
I think it works better when they know you, so it actually tracks. It makes it easier to score hits.
Yeah, I think your first joke was, and that's when I knew Michael was a dickhead.
Yeah.
And it got a huge pop.
Yeah. I think technically my first joke was listing a whole bunch of positive attributes and then saying, "But enough about me. I'm here tonight to talk about Michael."
Good writing.
But yes.
Just good writing,
Thank you. It was... when you told me about the wedding and then you said, "Oh, I want you to give a speech," I was like, "Oh God," because I'm not actually a very comfortable public speaker. It's been a long time since I've had to do it, and I can sort of in the moment pull it out. But for the lead up to it in the days prior, I was just like sincerely anxious about it.
Really?
100%. Didn't sleep very well. I was like leaning up next to Casey being like, "Tell me it's going to go okay." And he's like, "What?
Oh my God.
Just tell me that I'm going to do all right." He's like, "You'll be fine." And I was like...
It's a very hard thing to gauge, like, because it was like, what's the room going to be like? Because there's so many question marks.
Yeah, there's so many question marks. There's like, is there a podium? Am I resting my thing on it? Am I holding a mic? Is the mic in a stand? Am I in a room? Am I outside? Like, everything about it is an unknown variable. And then on top of that, I'm writing this speech in a vacuum. Now I did chat with Casper to work out what tone he was going for. Because if he was going all jokes, I would have gone more sentimental. You know, like I would have.
Okay.
I didn't want to.
You wanted to balance.
Yeah, I didn't want to come in and you know, tread on his toes with what he'd been working on, for instance. But he said that he'd gone with like stories and a little bit more sentiment and stuff, and I was like, okay, well, I can probably get away with just being the jokey guy.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I didn't know is I didn't know the running order. So
you were meant to close. You were meant to close.
Yeah.
But then we had a situation with
other things.
Dad got COVID the day of, and he was obviously meant to give a speech, so we had to put him last for germ reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so then, as I said, or as you said, you gave your like, oh, thanks so much for coming. You know, thank you to the venue, which has been lovely so far, and thank you for everyone who's travelled, and like all this nice sentiment, and oh, this nice story about Lauren, and then you're like, Nick, and I was like, oh fuck. But
I had some notes in there, just to be clear.
You did. It was a lovely speech. But I was like, well, here we go, because this is just 4.5 minutes of me insulting you to your face. And,
I think it was great. I think the timing worked out well.
Yeah, it did. But I genuinely only properly relaxed and enjoyed the wedding after that had finished. So I was glad that the speeches were early enough that there was still time for me to just like enjoy the night afterwards.
Did you feel good about your speech?
I did feel good about the speech.
Did you get an endorphin rush or anything after that? Because you did do very well.
Thank you. I genuinely, and this sounds like a thing, I genuinely like blanked it out. Like almost immediately afterwards, I have like no recollection of how it went. Like stress response was like, you don't have to think about that anymore, so don't think about it.
Yeah, you just blocked it out like COVID.
Yeah, like you could have walked out straight after me, handing the mic over and said, "Oh, how did you think that went?" And I'd be like, "How did what went?" I don't.
How did what went? How did what went?
Exactly. It's just some of my sparkling comedy. But then the very nice thing afterwards was that a lot of people did come up and say nice things, including your parents, because I was not sure how. Like I had said when I walked in the gardens and I was chatting to your dad Peter for a bit. I was like, he was saying, oh, it's nice to see you, whatever. And I said, oh, just wait till you hear my speech, then see how you go. And I like sort of slightly jokingly, but also, that had some digs in there. And he said to me, I told him, oh yeah, I got some digs at Michael, it's a little bit of a roast, if you like. And Peter goes, part of me extremely respects that. Part of me, as the father of the groom, wants to strangle you. And I was like, yeah.
Was this after the speech or before?
No, this was at the ceremony. This was in the gardens before the speech. Like one of the first things he said. And I was like, yep, that's the two ways it could go. So then
I think you were probably from a strategy point of view right to do that, because Dad has a very different relationship with that sort of stuff than I do, right?
Yeah.
He is a very pride's a good thing to a certain degree, but it's, for example, he used to teach at our school, right?
Yeah.
And all of our nicknames, including him, was a Zuba, right? Every single person, including the teachers, called us Zuba. And every time he heard that, he'd pull us aside and go, "Don't let anyone call you. Your name is Michael. Michael's a brick." Like it's that kind of vibe. Yeah. And I didn't pre-warn him about I didn't know what you were going to say for one thing, but I knew that he would probably he would be protective over that stuff and not get it. He would potentially only see it as mean. And what I did tell him before was that when they had dinner with us a few nights earlier, that I basically asked my friends to roast me for my 30th, and just kind of let him know that I like this. Yeah. I enjoy this. This is fun to me. I have a mean sense of humor. This is what I like. Yeah. Not explicitly saying that this is what you should expect.
What you should expect, yeah.
It was in the back of my mind. And I think it was probably a bit of a challenge for him, but I saw him laughing.
And to his credit, afterwards, he came up and said, "Yeah, good job." So I was like,
"Oh, really?
Okay, phew, I passed the Peter bar." But there was a little. I just didn't look at him. I was like, I'll just focus on you.
Good move, because he was standing off to the side.
He was, yeah.
But he gave a very touching speech as well, and
it was lovely.
The first time I've seen him nervous, for a guy that actually who's on the mic for a living, playing in his band. He was nervous at the start, but he gave a very touching speech. It's always nice to see like a grown stoic man just break down in front of the crowd.
It's dads at weddings.
It hits really hard. It's beautiful.
I have already heard that when my sister, who was recently engaged, brought up to my dad, the potential of doing a wedding speech, that there was some emotions, even at the stage of the concept of being asked of that. So I'm expecting, the full show.
And are you going to have to give a speech at that one too?
Unclear. I reckon I might actually be roped in for MC, but we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah. Oh, I would love that. Well, now you've got a resume.
Yeah, I'll just copy paste what I wrote for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to know a couple of sliding doors, things that I didn't put in the speech but that I considered for a little while?
Please.
I was going
your Seth Meyers segment.
This is corrections. I almost, and I went pretty far down the line with this. I wanted to start the speech in Ukrainian, and then turn to you and then discover that you don't speak Ukrainian and be a little bit offended on your behalf that you don't speak the language of your people. And I have Ukrainian contacts, of course, with Frogwares. So I was going to get over to them to start it. And then I decided
that would have been so tricky, but a lot of my relatives are fluent in Ukrainian, so that's would have killed.
Yeah, that's why I was nervous to do it as well, because if I just don't speak it either,
hard language. It's a hard language, even just written phonetically. It's hard.
Yeah. So in the end, I was okay because I liked my opening joke enough that the idea of doing it once in Ukrainian and then doing it again it felt a little bit rubbish. And then the other way I was going to go for a while, and I didn't quite crack this approach, but I wanted to list some of the things that you were. This is probably where I would have gone if it was the more sentimental angle. Like if Casper was being a bit roastier, I would have probably gone this direction and talked about the things you're interested in and be like, you've always been interested in science, and your science teacher at high school, Mrs. Johnson or whatever, and I would call up your mum and confirm these names or whatever, and be like, she always said that Michael had a real interest in this kind of stuff, and I'm sure that if she was here, she'd say, "I'm proud of you, Michael." And then I was going to go on and be like, "Oh, and he was always interested in, people or, history or whatever. And if your history teacher at school was here, then I'm sure he'd say, 'I'm proud of you.' And he was always interested in music. And, I'm sure that if your music teacher was here tonight, he would say," and I was going to turn to your dad and prompt him to say, "I'm proud of you, Michael." Which,
oh my God.
I would have had to prep him for, but
wow.
That one, I thought I'd do my bit to try and, wrangle sincerity out of your dad for you. But as it turned out, didn't need to happen, because your dad was so sincere and sweet and fully opened up in his speech anyway, that it would have ended up a bit, reduplicative. But anyway,
that would have been funny. That would have been funny to some people. That's a very funny thing.
Anyway, so that was what we went to. I'll send you the script for that if you do want a copy of it.
I love it. Thank you for coming. Thank you. We are going
I do want to say one other thing as well, which was that your wedding was an opportunity to meet a lot of people that I have interacted with but never met in person before. And a lot of those people were podcast listeners who came up to me. So I do need to explicitly thank and call out Casper and Dave Weber and Coco, and Katie was there. I probably shouldn't list your whole guest list for those, but everyone who came up and
Lauren's
said hi.
But this was the thing. This is actually kind of annoying, to be honest, because people kept coming up and asking me to introduce them to you. And you were somewhat of a celebrity, and including Lauren's mum, Jane. She said, "Oh, I really need to meet Nick. I've been here listening to him on the podcast." I was like, first of all, oh Jesus, but there were so many people that really wanted to meet you, and I guess it is the podcast that
yeah. I'm glad that I was able to make it a big day for me and to really sort of steal the show. No. I did. I was lovely to speak to everyone, and I was grateful to get to put faces to names. And I also feel like I should very slightly apologize because at the end of the night, I ordered an Uber, which turned up in about 35 seconds, and I suddenly had a car there, and I had to be like, all right, see you later, bye everyone, and then just walked off into the night, and I didn't get to say a proper goodbye to people.
You didn't get to finish signing all the autographs.
So I just threw the headshots into the air and assumed that as they fluttered around, people were able to like leap and grab one for each other.
They did. Even people that weren't at the wedding, they were like, give me one, please.
Yeah. As staff members, that kind of thing. The bar staff were really nice.
Very nice. Yeah, got vaguely hit on by one of them, didn't you?
Look,
all right, I feel like everyone's got wedding fatigue. That's enough wedding. Thank you for coming, Nick. I thank you for your gift. We are in the process of writing people thank you notes for the gift, but your gift was very generous, and thank you to Casey as well for the Pupsy toy. I don't know where the fuck he found that.
No. It's a dog chew toy. It's in the shape of a Pepsi bottle that says Pupsy, and what better gift?
Pepsi has used it a lot. Let me just say that.
It's already destroyed. Yes,
it is
gone.
destroyed.
It's in the bin.
It is just fluff. It's not in the bin, but it is
That's fine.
Mostly fluff at this point. But yes, no, thank you very much, Casey, and thank you for Nick. All right, no more wedding. Bye.
Bye.
What else is going on?
What else is going on?
Do you have anything else?
I've got a couple little seggy things I could do here. Maybe I can swing this into a little bit of a related thing. We've been talking a bit about the photographer who did your photos and the effect that had when you started to look at them. And here's a segue for you, because photographers are on a mission to fix Wikipedia's famously bad celebrity portraits.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that we all use Wikipedia all the time, and would recognize that if you've ever gone to look up, say, Sandra Oh's birthplace or Gwyneth Paltrow's age or whatever it is, you look at these photos and you're like, how is this the photo? Like, these are celebrities. This is Leonardo DiCaprio. He's everywhere. Why is the photo so shit and often so old? Let me just read a little bit of this article here. I'll pop it up. This is in 404 Media. Wikipedia portraits, often included in Wikipedia articles about celebrities, are so famously bad that there's an Instagram page dedicated to them. Lots of portraits on Wikipedia are many years old. Comedian Joe Pesci's Wikipedia photo, for example, is from 2009. This portrait problem stems from Wikipedia's mission to provide free, reliable information. All media on the site must be openly licensed so anyone can use it free of charge. That means that most photos of notable people are of notably poor quality. Quote, no professional photographers ever have their photos on Wikipedia because they want to make money from the photos. It's actually the norm that most celebrities have poor photos if they have photos at all. It's just some civilian in an airport being like, oh my God, it's Pete Davidson, and clicking with an iPhone. So Dixit here, this guy Jay Dixit, who just said that, is part of a team of volunteer photographers called Wiki Portraits that's trying to fix the problem. It's been on the back of our minds for quite a while now, said Kevin Payravi, one of Wicked Portrait's co-founders. Last year, finally, we decided to make this a reality, and we got a couple of credentials for Sundance 2024. We sent a couple of photographers there, we set up a portrait studio, and that was our first organised effort here in the US to take good quality photos of people for Wikipedia. Since last January, Wiki Portraits photographers have covered around 10 global festivals and award ceremonies and taken nearly 5,000 freely licensed photos of celebrity attendees. And the celebrity attendees are often quite excited about it. Dixit, for example, found Jeremy Strong from Succession at a New York showing of the new Apprentice movie and asked to take a new headshot of him for Wikipedia. His publicist said no, but Jeremy said, wait, you're from Wikipedia? For the love of God, please take down that photo. You'd be doing me a service. So he stood and posed and I got a shot of him. His old photo was from 2014. So anyway, this article goes on, but you get the gist here. I find it interesting, that there was this problem for a kind of interesting reason, which is that it's a free free encyclopedia. But then B, it has annoyed enough people so much that they can have now actively set up a studio and a campaign to go and improve all of these things.
They should lean into it though. Like that it should be the should be like a running gag. They should. I think they should. I think it's bad that they're doing this.
You disagree with it. You like the fact that it's a blurry photo.
I think it's fun. Like in a world where we're just seeing perfect versions of perfect people in
but
perfect
so
settings.
Old. You want something from 30 years ago?
Put up the worst. Put up Tom Hardy's photo should be that MySpace photo that selfie that he took. Like it should just be take him down a peg, Wikipedia.
What year do you think Tom Hardy's photo is from currently?
2012.
2018. Actually, more recent.
Oh, sorry, I'm not really checking that often.
Just saying. Give me another celebrity.
What about Gwenny Pouch?
Gwenny Pouch. Ooh, see, this is a good example. 2011.
Okay.
14 years ago. She doesn't look like this anymore, I'm sure.
Well, she looks pretty good for her age.
She does look very good. I'm not shaming her. I'm just saying that 14 years does things to all of us.
Well, not
Have you looked at any photos of you of 21?
Of me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that.
That was actually a funny moment in my speech where I said I met you 18 years ago and I watched in real time as you had a breakdown.
I still can't believe that. It popped into my head. 18 years.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Crazy.
What are your thoughts on Jeremy Strong, by the way?
I like him. I mean, Succession was a great show and he's a great actor. I don't
Got a real
know
pretentious vibe to him, though, doesn't he? I can't tell if I like it a lot or I hate
I feel
it.
like you should like it. It feels like it's something that's he's a disciple of DDL.
I know. This is what I think. I think I like it, but it just I recoil a little bit.
Yeah,
it's like smelling your own armpit. I think a little bit. It's just like, I don't like it, but I do. I guess I don't know.
Jeremy Strong is the smelling your own armpit of actors.
Yeah. But Timothy Chalamet's got this as well, where he goes up. I think it was he won for the Golden Globe for Best Actor for Bob Dylan. And he said, I want to be one of the greats. And everyone was like, cringe. And then I was like, I respect it. He does clearly want to be one of the greats. And I think he will be. But I get that it's icky.
Yeah. I mean, that's theatre kid energy, really, isn't it? It's that sort of heightened sincerity that people sort of can repel against a little bit.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis does not have this, though. Off screen. It's the off screen that makes it cringe. Daniel Day-Lewis retreats. He just does it. And he lets the mythology, run course. And actually, he does a little bit when he does interviews. He does as much as he can to dispel the mythology.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is definitely cooler to be like a Michael Shannon and to not show up at awards shows at all and just be like, whatever the fuck happens.
Yeah.
That's ultimate coolness vibe where you're just you care about the work and it literally showing up for that doesn't matter to me. And I think that's what differentiates, not necessarily in a bad way, but just distinguishes against someone like Chalamet, who's like, I want to be the best, but also I want to be recognized for that too, which is, I think, sort of true of DiCaprio, for instance. He was so hungry for that Academy Award. But yeah, there's different people, I guess, motivated by different things.
This is a really honest moment that I'm going to reveal to you here. A lot of people will fantasize, imagine that they've won an Oscar. I kid you not, I have fantasized about winning the Oscar but not being there to accept it. That's my fantasy.
Why? As in, you want it to be recognized, but then you want the prestige of being like, oh, why wasn't Michael here? He was too busy, working at the.
Give it to my assistant. Oh, good. Don't care about awards.
And you want it to be like,
about that.
You want Morgan Freeman to be like, I accept this award on his behalf as he walks off stage. And then you have to go collect it from Morgan later.
Yeah, this is the real level of my narcissism. It's so beyond what regular narcissism even should be. It's so outside the zone. It's like one level further.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. Also, just as a side note, isn't it weird that Morgan Freeman's name is Morgan? Like, you only ever say his name like full, first name, last name. But Morgan. I was hanging out with Morgan earlier. He doesn't feel like a Morgan.
No,
at a certain
Morgan
point,
is
a name has like
country,
a stature,
country rock star's name.
Yeah.
Morgan Spurlock.
Morgan Spurlock. Well, that took a turn, didn't it?
He's dead.
I've got a couple of myths. I got a couple of recs. Should we?
Whatever you want. I'm looking at my soundbar here, my sound wave, and I have talked a lot. So
that's fine. No, it was nice. You had a big thing happen. Actually, I have one other thing that I want to run past you because I thought this was interesting. So, I go to the gym. Yes, I know. We talk about it a lot. This is a Gim Gab segment. Here we go. I go to the gym. I was at the gym on this week past after ANZAC Day, which was the day after your wedding. And up on the board, they had written out an ANZAC Day workout. I'm going to send it to you now, Michael.
I think I can probably guess some of these. There's going to be like Kokoda crunches and things like that.
Ooh, yes.
Lest we forget leg day.
Yeah. I mean, you're not even wrong is the thing. You're not even wrong. So I just want you to maybe read this. Or I can read it out. Whatever you prefer.
You read.
So this is the ANZAC Day workout. It's spelled out here, ANZAC. The problem with doing it as an acrostic is that none of their subsequent exercises match those letters. But here we go.
What the fuck?
11 burpees for the 11th hour.
Oh.
N, 20 jumping lunges. Anzac spirit was forged in the 20th century.
Oh.
Z, 25 kettlebell swings for the 25th of April. A, 19 push-ups for the 1915 Gallipoli landing.
Well,
C,
I would expect climbers. At least 1,000 more.
This
19.
I can't. Let's just get through this. C, 40 mountain climbers for 40,000 troops deployed. And then a bonus finisher, 10 med ball slams, symbolizing the strength to rise again after every fall. And a 1 minute plank, a plank of silence to honor the fallen soldiers.
Of silence. Plank of silence is the best one. Everything else is such a stretch. And the other thing that is unnerving about this image is, first of all, the acrostic, just redundant acrostic.
That's a redundant acrostic.
The stretch, the stretches in tying them to the exercises is just unbelievable. But then also the flower, that's clearly been the most effort has been put on that flower.
Because
it's quite good.
Yeah, it is.
But that's insane. Like, they had a really good opportunity here. I think we could have written a much better one.
So you think it's still appropriate to try and do an Anzac themed workout? Because I find this so uncomfortable. The idea, like, it is the worst example to me of like cringe gym bro inclination, right? That I find it so tone deaf. But I've had mixed, like, some people don't seem to have recoiled as much as I recoiled looking at it. But I'm glad that you see the way I see it, which is that this is not the way to honor the troops by doing a silent plank.
Potentially a way to, I mean, that's hilarious. But I think there is a way that they could have done this in a tasteful way. And what they could have done is like, trying to get exercises that maybe they would have done on the
like actual military
trail.
Yeah,
like there are those like lunges or whatever. Like they could kind of get a feel for how the soldiers actually live
the kind
their
of
lives.
activities that you might do on like a military training course or something. Sure.
Not 19 push-ups for 1915, the year of
Gallipoli landing.
I mean, if you're going to do that, do 1,915 push-ups. Do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually not a bad. I mean, look, okay, this is all scale. This is gradients of offensive. But I think if you said, as a gym, we are going to get 1,915 push-ups together. Do your push-ups, add them to the tally, and together we will get to a total or something. Like a community spirit thing where it's like, okay, I'm coming in today, I'm going to do my 20, I'll put them up there. If everyone at the club does 20 push-ups, then we get, that sort of makes sense. But like all of these numbers, 40 mountain climbers because there were 40,000 troops deployed. Like,
redundant. Arbitrary.
Boy.
Also, the funny thing about the 1 minute silence in the plank is that presumably people are doing these individually. Yeah. I'm assuming that they're not turning the music off every time.
No one's chatting through a plank anyway.
People are just blasting Bruno Mars in there.
Yeah.
Well, doing this for the troops.
Yeah. Gosh. So anyway, that was my. I did such a double take when I looked at that. I'm glad.
But you did it. You did the workout. Though,
I did it. I mean, yeah. Can't skip leg day.
You're a patriot after all.
I'm a patriot. If you've enjoyed this podcast, thank you very much. And thank you to all those people who said nice things about it to our faces. This is just one episode of many now, 253 in fact. So go back in the old archives and listen to some of the early ones. Go back in time, learn a little about who we used to be and marvel at who we are today. If you want to get in contact with us, you can do so by sending us an email, deepfort@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can put comments on Spotify now. You can rate us 5 stars. You can just generally try and appreciate those significant days when they come about in your life and see them through the eyes of who you will be in the future.
Nicely said.
Well, Michael, I've got 2 quick myths that I want to get off my chest. So let's play that jingle. Michael's moved, annoyed, displeased, riled up, offended, aggrieved, irritated, chagrined, pissed off, put out, resentful, and piqued, discontented. Michael's moved. There we go. Okay, Michael, here we go. Rapid fire. We're going to move on. But myth number 1. When you watch an ad that is obviously originated overseas and they've dubbed the people speaking with a local voiceover actor, but the lips are just off a little bit, that that it wasn't actually filmed by those people. And they're trying to pass it off as like a local ad, but all they've done is just redub it.
Name and shame. I don't think I've come across this.
It's something where you have a brand, maybe like a Jif, maybe like a cleaning product, a Procter & Gamble, or, something, a Palmolive. A lot of these places, maybe a dishwasher detergent, they use the same products internationally. They record a thing. It's like a mum with her kids, handing, the tab of liquid detergent over to the clueless husband, and then the voiceover comes in and it's like, oh, when I'm at the home, I need the most effective cleaning that I can get. But it's just slightly out of sync, and you can tell that it's out of sync, and that that all they've done is just take something that someone else made and dub it locally. I'm sorry, if you want me to buy a product, put in the effort, film it here. Support local production.
Buy local. Buy local, buy global.
Buy local, think global, and say no to international dubs.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Maybe it's a New Zealand thing because
it happens in Australia as well. But I'll find it and I'll send you examples. Number 2, no. Simple but effective here. Decorative pine cones.
People haven't seen one of those since the 90s, dude.
Just a pine cone out and around. A pine cone
like in a bowl
on a shelf,
on a table?
or on a bowl on a table. A pine cone, in the bathroom. I just don't quite understand what this aesthetic is and what it is that's improved by this edition.
Yes, I will agree with this. I think fake fake flowers are weird in the you know when you see a really good fake plant and you feel so like tricked when you when you thought it was, and you're like, oh, this is fucking plastic. I feel like I'm such an idiot. But pine cones, I agree, are like, what does anyone? Why are pine cones? There's
to be clear, I'm talking about a real pine cone. Like people put like a real one on display. You know, I'm not just talking like an imitation one. But like, look, I'll take it. You know, I think this applies to imitation pine cones. But I think a lot of the time you just see a real pine cone, and you know they get covered in dust. They're all prickly. You know, like I just don't know what the vibe I'm meant to be getting. Like log cabin in the winter.
They're not aesthetically pleasing at all.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're like a possum, it might be kind of
maybe.
Now it feels nice and homely in here, but like we're not possums, are we?
We're not possums. We don't need to live like this. You know, we've advanced past pine cones.
I don't get pine cones. I've got a quick one that just occurred to me here.
Yeah, please.
News article about some celebrity, and when this is mostly a Facebook issue. It's mostly a boomer issue. Mm-hmm. When people go, who? It's like some article about Chris Hemsworth and whoever his wife is. Never heard of him. Why is this news?
Yeah.
Like, I hate this because it's like in your head, you think you're better than this because you don't know. Oh, I've never heard of you, so how could you be anyone?
I know every human alive. Except
every
you.
Single one.
So this means that you're not important.
I don't know myself either.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, I think there is a lot of conversations that we should be having about what is going on Facebook these days because it is dire. Like the number of like AI images that are being passed off where it's like a girl sitting there with like a tear running down her eyes, like with her hands out being like, her father said that she wasn't deserving of love. What do you think? And then it's like 50,000 comments of being like, don't listen to him. And it's a fake AI image that was just generated by someone for clickbait. Like, I don't know what's going on.
I mean, I don't understand commenting on anything. Like, I wouldn't even comment. I would think quite hard about it. Even if a friend just gave birth to like a beautiful baby, I would be like, do I really want to say, oh my God, gorgeous? I would feel weird about it. And then I'd probably delete it, even if I did it. But then there's people going out and they're just spilling, you know, there's like, I see these Atlantic articles pop up and they're like, they're letters to the editor seeking advice, you know, often for romantic situations. People are just spilling their guts out. My husband, who I'm still with, won't sleep with me anymore. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what? How?
Yeah, why are you asking?
Do this?
Yeah, a magazine for advice.
People on YouTube like, I just don't understand. It's like your name's attached to Reddit. I get because there's anonymity, but even that's kind of weird.
Often the purpose of Reddit is to get an answer or to like actively contribute like knowledge in a niche. You know, I sort of see it there. It's a forum.
Yeah. You click through to their profile, you're like, who is this person? And you just go down a rabbit hole and you're like...
Comments on a news article? Like, that's crazy.
All of a sudden you're doing a deep dive on their cousin's life. It's just some random person and you just try to work out their psychology.
Yeah. And then you're like reading through their previous comments, trying to work out if they're just generally a psycho or if you like this is something that you could maybe see as a reasonable person.
Yeah, and then you create a fake profile pretending to be their ex-husband and message them asking for them to beg them for them back. Yeah, we've all been there.
We've all been there. How about some Rec Engine, Mucky boy?
Let's do it.
Grab the keys. Welcome to Deep Thought's Recommendation Engine. Here we are in the Rec Engine. I got a few things here, Mikey. I don't know where you're sitting, but I might start us off with two things. A little bit of the old televisual. First things first, Last of Us is back. I know that you don't watch this show, Michael, but it is worth saying this is a very good adaptation. This is Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. The Last of Us. It is
the game.
It's based on the game. It is a sort of very prestige level, top tier zombie show with great actors, great performances, and really good story stuff. They just did some big shit, and it has been exciting to watch people who haven't played the game encounter it. So if you are looking for something to scratch that, like, maybe a little bit of the Game of Thrones thing, a little bit of the old fantasy, or a little bit of the thrills and spills of like a big budget show, The Last of Us is extremely good. Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl, as the showrunner, and he is doing his shit. It's very good.
The reactor's blown.
The reactor's
blown. Urumov, the reactor's blown.
I don't know it offhand, but I'm pretty sure that Urumov is probably one of the names. I would trust you to have remembered that.
Urumov is actually a villain in Bond on GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, okay. Apologies. Number 2, no. I'm just going to throw this out briefly. We've talked about the first season of The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder, which was a very sort of off-kilter comedy documentary kind of thing, a bit hard to explain, of Nathan Fielder setting up elaborate sets in order to enable people to rehearse relatively insignificant moments of their lives. The reason I bring it up, Michael, is that I think this second season is explicitly in your wheelhouse, because the first episode of the second season is about avoiding airplane crash disasters, and he builds an entire airport in order to explore how a pilot enters and operates in the airport environment. So, given
I'm excited. I like the first season. It's one
given
of the
intersection of your interests with air crash investigation, and
I was actually watching it last night. Had a bit of a marathon, to be honest.
Yeah. So I feel like that first episode is at the very least going to be something that's interesting to you.
Yeah, I've got that pegged.
And now let's roll into something that we have both been watching, The Studio. Michael, how do you find The Studio?
I've watched the first 3 episodes. I love The Studio. It's about behind the scenes Hollywood. A guy I like the idea of like the theme of someone who is pursuing like a dream for the passion of it, but then finding himself in a crossroads between the capitalistic financial business side of things. Yeah, that resonates with me.
And the artistic side, yeah.
I love Rogue Daddy. I love all the actors. Catherine? What's her name? Catherine
Hahn. Yeah,
I love Catherine Hahn.
Ike Baron. I'm a big Ike Barinholtz stan. Long time ago.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah,
he's very good.
It's great. It's a great show. Long takes. I saw it. They did a Criterion Closet, and they were going him and Evan Goldberg. Did he write it with Goldberg? Mm-hmm. They were going through their kind of inspirations, and they were just citing all these films, like these old kind of Italian films, where they just did long takes, and laughing at the fact that we're not joking at all that this is an inspiration for The Studio.
I really respect a show that comes out of the gate with a fully formed aesthetic and feel, and so many shows can be a little bit homogenous these days, or even comedies. They take a bit of time to find their rhythms, or they're quite plodding or whatever. And this show just comes out at like an 80-mile-per-hour fastball. And from the first second, it is electric and interesting and captivating. And the camera is moving in so many dynamic and almost like tension-heightening ways. It's just really impeccably made, to the point where the second episode is called The Oneer. And it's about a film trying to do a oneer take. And it itself is a oneer as they walk in and around the situation. And it's like a 30-minute take that's just hilarious and gripping and tense and just a perfect little nugget of TV. It's amazing.
Yeah, I really love shows. It's kind of like the Extras thing, where it's like it's taking life but then exaggerating, and they've got Scorsese in there and a few others.
The cameos they get are insane.
Yeah, no, I love seeing real people play themselves and then play a dick version of themselves.
Yeah.
Which I know that they've done a lot, but like I love
Olivia Wilde coming in to play like an asshole director is so fucking meta and wonderful.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's so good. They get incredible cameos. It's so impressive.
Nice.
Anything on your list there, Mikey boy?
I've got one rec for you, hot off the press. It's a show I've been watching. I don't watch a lot of TV.
Airline crash investigations.
Close. Border security. They've put all of the... Lauren kind of got me onto this, but they've put basically all of the episodes from seasons 1 to 19. I fucking love this show.
Who's put them where? On YouTube?
They've put it on YouTube for free. Border Security, the channel. And I've just been kind of rinsing it, just having it on in the background. You know, there's a nervous flyer from Los Angeles. Why is he sweating so much? Does he have drugs on him? Turns out he doesn't. Most of the time they don't, which is kind of annoying. But yeah. I'm really loving Border Security. But if you're into that kind of trash reality television, and ever yourself been nervous going through customs, if you know what I'm saying, it really hits a nerve, dude. It really resonates.
It's funny. I for whatever reason, it is a show that if you leave on free-to-air TV long enough, it appears. Like every now and then, this shows you the kind of caring parents we are. If we're going out and we've left Goose in her crate while we're gone, we'll pop on the TV so she has something to listen to.
Yeah,
often you get back in and Border Security is on. So I'm not telling a lie. It is a show that after never having watched like 20 years worth, it is something that in the past like 6 months I have now seen like 3 episodes of.
Yeah, it's it's like the monkey on the typewriter thing, but it's kind of reduced. It's like if you believe on the TV for long enough, eventually you'll see an episode of Wife Swap and Border Security.
Yeah,
and Desperate Housewives of Somewhere. I do have a question about that. So does Goose react to other dogs on the TV?
She watches them with interest, yeah.
She doesn't bark?
So we have a little bit of like Google, not Google. We have a algorithm that comes up and spits beagle stuff at our YouTube feed a bit. And when she sees beagles on the TV, she gets interested in a way that seems to suggest she understands that that's her. Like she recognizes them and the noises they make more than other dogs.
Yeah, right. We do. So I've never had a dog that could have never responded to the TV, but Pepsi is ultra sensitive to, especially dogs. She'll start barking. She's a very protective, territorial dog. But then even like, and this is kind of a crazy cognition thing for someone who's so stupid, that she'll see like an animated bear on like an insurance ad and start barking at the animated bear, which I'm like, how do you recognize that?
Yeah, that's interesting.
But she really likes Bluey. She'll watch Bluey. Apparently Bluey is made on some level for dogs. But so if we left her home with a dog, you see those 24 hours of dogs or videos for dogs for calming. It's just got slow motion dogs. She'll go nuts.
Yeah, right.
But we'll put on like videos for cats, and it'll just be like birds in some farm coming to on a table, and she'll just be like, she loves birds.
Fascinated, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting watching them see things for the first time. So I came into the room once to see Casey holding Goose on his lap, watching underwater footage, like slow motion of like reefs and things. And I was like, what are you doing? She has to learn about these things.
I literally did this the other day. I was like, what is some animal that she wouldn't know about? And I'm like, well,
jellyfish.
She's never seen like a fish.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know what the water is. She didn't really care at all. But
Goose was watching, I get that like, oh, that's interesting. But like the other day, this is ironic but true. We were at the dog park, and then geese flew overhead, and they're like honk, honk, honk. And she looks up and she like watches them fly away, and like you can see in like real time that she's like, oh, that's a thing I've never seen before. Oh, that's a helicopter. What the hell is that? Oh, that's like processing the world. It's interesting.
No, it is nice to see a dog like kind of react to things the first time. Every time I open up I love giving Pepsi new smells. Like I'll open up a jar of olives and I'm like, you've probably never smelled olives before. have a smell of olives, and like I just like to see her like smelling things for the first time. It's nice.
We have a spice shelf, right? Full of spices,
Ooh,
curries, and that kind of
quit
thing.
bragging.
Because I'm rich, and that is on like perfect stand up on your hind legs and look into the pantry height, right? It's like it's only maybe like 50 centimeters off the ground, and that is the most dangerous door to have open because she will just steal spice packets. She'll reach in there, and I have to imagine that is like for a dog the best shelf like ever. Just so many different smells, so many just fascinating things. She'll grab anything. She'll grab cumin, she'll grab chili, she'll grab cinnamon, she'll grab herbs. She'll just run off with sesame seeds. She likes a spice rub. She takes all of this shit, and if she sees an opportunity, she will grab it and she will flee.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I could see it going either way for a dog. Pepsi will. If we've had like quite a few people stay with us over the last few weeks, and she is a dirty sock hunter. So if you have the door open, she'll find a dirty sock, and I kid you not, she's she had Casper staying with us. We had Lauren's parents. She literally had made a pile of like little everyone's dirty socks, and just like kind of inconveniencing people just taking their one dirty sock. But that I get, because it's like you can smell this thing, and she can thrash it around. I don't see Pepsi searching out some lemon pepper necessarily.
No. Well, maybe it's an opportunity. That's basically our drug drawer for her. Like Goose will go wild if she spots that kind of stuff. We got to limit her intake.
Yeah, we shut our actual drug drawer so that Pepsi doesn't find her doing lines off the toilet seat.
Yeah.
Again.